Yeah, so hi everyone. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jason. As James said, I'm the VP of Sales for the UK and Ireland at Zscaler. I've been with the company nearly 3 years, and mainly I've been responsible there for building out teams and leading as a frontline leader. However, over the past year, I've been running the UK and Ireland region, and my talk today is going to focus on that transition from being a frontline leader to a second line leader, and some of the challenges that I have faced and the learnings that I've had so I can pass them along to this illustrious group. Now, the title of this talk is called Leading at Scale, the importance of engaging your ecosystem to win big. And the reason I've selected this title is because it refers to my key learning that I've had, which I'll expand on during this talk. So when I was a frontline leader, I was an all-out executioner. James even used to call me like the scientist. You know, I was a very machine-orientated. Everything was really urgent and important. If it wasn't done today, then it needed to be done in this very minute. If we gave up any control in anything that we did, I was paranoid that we would introduce risk into our deals and potentially lose leverage over our timeline and all this sort of style of leadership. And this obsession led to some spectacular revenue results and a very successful team of people. However, when teams get bigger and you get more of them, control becomes less possible. And what I started to realize slowly but surely was this management style that I'd sort of developed was starting to add less value as I got further away from the deals and started to add more stress. So when I moved into this role at the start of August of last year, my initial instinct was to act like a super RD. So my ethos was, if you can add value to my business, then great. But if it's less obvious, then I would simply view you as taking time away from the things that I wanted to do, which was drive deals. My perspective was, well, if you want to be involved in my business, you need to come convince me that it makes sense. And if it does, then great. But if it doesn't, then I'll just get on with my job and you can do whatever it is that you want to do. So, just think about that sort of management style. I was very much like, if you want to have a piece of what I'm doing, then great, come convince me that it makes sense. Otherwise, I'm going to get on and add value to my reps and add value to my deals. But this decision that I'd made very early on in my new role quickly led to my ecosystem partners to make me feel that I wasn't really leading a region. And I didn't really have a plan for other people other than myself. I was very deal focused, and naturally, people viewed me as rather tactical. So I initially fought this feedback, because I felt like it was just, a desire from senior management to want me to appease a bunch of people and, kind of just, pay attention to them in some way. And because I wasn't clear how they added value to me, I just thought it was a waste of my very precious time. Now, I'm just kind of like laying out the reality of this decision. So I'm going to like build up where this goes. But the impact of this decision that I made really early on was I actually started to lose support of the region. The channel no longer viewed me as a leader who wanted to improve throughput through their channel partners. Marketing started to slowly but surely become more focused on other regions that they got better engagement with. I started to notice that I was the last to know when customer success issues started to, creep up in my business because I didn't have a relationship with the customer success leader. And my sales engineering counterparts, I started to hear whisperings that they felt like a resource rather than as a member of the team. And ironically, the RSMs, the regional sales managers, the reps who I'd sworn to protect at all costs, actually started to feel like the ecosystem around them hadn't been set up in a way for them to be successful. And the ecosystem wasn't delivering value and supporting all their efforts. And they started to feel actually more stressed and more time constrained. So another impact of this problem was when you start to take this approach, you start to alienate yourself from people around you. You start to become unapproachable. And getting any feedback directly becomes really difficult because the people around you no longer view you as someone that is really interested in hearing what they have to say. And instead, they are preparing for some kind of battle or some kind of argument and worried that your logic is, going to overpower theirs. So they start to become less interested in really having a dialogue with you. So, this started to develop this perception that I wasn't really an ecosystem leader, and I started to have to pay attention. Now, I'm sure some of you in the audience are wondering, well, if the results are there and the sales are there, then who cares? If you're driving revenue, and surely everyone should be happy. And that was my opinion as well, up until the point that I started to realize that this was a very high risk strategy. Because as soon as you lose control of the revenue, because remember now you're much further away from the deals, if things don't start to go your way, you're on your own. And naturally, when you're on your own and you run into problems, there's no one really around you to help you or support you. And senior leaders then start looking at your situation and wondering, well, why is this going wrong? And maybe it's because of this or because of this or because of that. And, secondly, revenue is only one aspect of your job. You obviously have to recruit great talent who want to stay. And even if you're not responsible for the careers of your ecosystem partners, if those people start to leave the business or they feel unfulfilled or unmotivated in some way, you're going to start feeling the impact of that lack of motivation on your business. So this realization started to ring true for me about 6 months ago, when I had a quarter that didn't go my way. And I started to analyze what I was doing wrong. And I realized this one key lesson that I want to pass on to all of you, so you don't end up in a similar situation, which was really stressful, which was this. When I walked into this role, I expected my ecosystem to have a plan for me. I didn't expect that I needed to have a plan for them. And I was the leader of this region. I was the one with the vision. And what I started to realize in hindsight was that I needed to engage my ecosystem in a dialogue about how they were going to support me with my vision and get their input and hold their success on equal footing as my own. So for those moving from frontline management to some kind of country manager role or RVP role or a second line leadership role of some capacity, I wanted to summarize 5 key takeaways for you just to reflect on, which is learnings that I'm still going through. So the first one is a second line leadership job is not a super RD job. It's a completely different job. So don't think that just because you're a great RD, you're going to be a great second line leader. It's as big a transition as going from being an individual contributor to a management job. The second thing, as I've already implied, is you need to have a plan for your business, which includes how your ecosystem members are going to get involved. Thirdly, you need to engage in a two-way dialogue with them about how they can contribute and how you can measure your success. And number 4, which was something that I've kicked off very recently, you need to schedule regular, iterative communication channels so that you can check in on progress and keep things personal, particularly in a remote-driven world where everything feels really transactional. You need to make sure that you're getting that iterative, water cooler conversations to make sure you're staying plugged into what's really going on in your ecosystem. And finally, and most importantly, you need to take accountability for their success and build them into champions and put their agenda on the same level as your own. Now, I want to footnote this learning by saying that I haven't actually got any of this right yet. But in the interests of transparent leadership, as hopefully you've got to know that I am, I like to share lessons from the field that I'm still getting to grips with. And I'm still developing how to do some of this stuff. But the truth is, to end this speech is, there's no point winning alone. You need people around you that are actually rooting for your success, because eventually you're going to need them as you start to grow in your role. And eventually, actually, the only way you're going to win big is if they're all behind you and rooting for your success. So that's my lesson that I wanted to pass on to you all, and hopefully it's valuable.